While the House of Representatives, run by the Republicans, do dog and pony shows, refuse to impeach Biden, refuse to impeach Mayorkas of Homeland Security, refuse to impeach Buttigieg, refuse to impeach Anthony Blinken, who conjured up false claims of Russian collusion and involvement with regard to Hunter Biden's laptop and the scandal involving bribery from China, Ukraine, and Russia. While they basically just do things for show, they are doing them for dough, however, because it's all to raise money. Now, we at Freedom Watch, we need money. We need tax-deductible contributions. We need to get bigger because we're your Justice Department. Don't waste your money on the Republicans. It's a losing venture. Don't waste your money on political candidates. They have their own money. Even President Trump, who I support, he has a lot of money. Doesn't need our money at the time that the American people are suffering. We at Freedom Watch are proceeding with our citizens' grand juries, our citizens' trials, our citizens' convictions and sentencing, and yes, seeking law enforcement to assist us in carrying out arrests. And who is in our target audience? Joe Biden, the brain-dead Joe Biden. Today, Nikki Haley said she doesn't think Joe Biden will last another 5 years, that he'll be dead. Well, let me tell you something. If he's reelected president, and even the next 2.5 years before he is supposedly to be reelected, we'll all be dead. He's created a situation where there could be a nuclear holocaust at any time with communist China, for which he's been bribed, Ukraine, Russia, you name it, and various other hotspots around the world that he doesn't know how to deal with and won't deal with because he's brain dead, stupid, and preoccupied with simply just keeping himself on life support while he's president of the United States. Look at what we're doing. Go to freedomwatchusa.org. Contribute with tax-deductible contributions. Get my book, It Takes a Counter-Revolution, Wake Up America. I have a plan, taking back our legal system. Watch what's going to happen in the next few weeks. We've been delayed a few days because the citizens judge has an issue, personal issue that he's dealing with right now with his family. But the fact is that it's very likely that Joe Biden will be convicted of bribery from communist China, Ukraine, and Russia. It is very likely that Anthony Fauci, Dr. Mengele, so to speak, who's responsible for the death of over 7 million people worldwide with his criminal negligence in giving the seeds of COVID-19 to the communist Chinese military lab that obviously created a bioweapon that escaped. He's likely to be convicted as well as certain federal judges. So watch what we do. Don't watch what we say. I want you to hear what I say. But watch our actions because we're different than every other public interest watchdog. We do more than just get documents. We're bringing criminal prosecutions, and we have the right to do it. As it says in our Declaration of Independence, when in the course of human events, the sovereign, the rulers no longer represent the people under the laws of nature and nature's God, nature's God, not the law of the king, not the law of the state. We have a right to alter or abolish that government and to form a new government by and for the people with equal rights for everyone in pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. Well, extending that to the logical conclusion, we have the right under the laws of nature and nature's God to enforce God's law. When that coincides with man's law, great. And you'll see in our hope for convictions, which we're confident we'll get, we make reference to man-made law and also to just common sense law. And beyond a reasonable doubt, we gave Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and James Biden notice that they were indicted many months ago. We told them they could appear and plead innocent, guilty, or nolo contendere, no contest. We told them that they could ask for a jury trial. We told them that they could show up and defend themselves. They did none of those things. And that's why the case is now judge tried. Now, if and when we get a conviction, and again, we're convinced we will, they're going to have an opportunity again to argue for their innocence. But they won't show up because they don't respect the American people. They think they're better than the American people. They think they're above the law. They think they don't have to answer to anyone, even God. In the case of Biden, of course not. Here's a guy who claims to be a devout Catholic, but is in favor of abortion and asks to get the communion from the Pope, who shamelessly gave him the communion. The Pope should be himself thrown out of the Catholic Church. He doesn't have the right to give communion to someone that believes in killing babies. And I can't get communion in the Catholic Church, even though I've been baptized. It's an outrage. I'm not against the Catholic Church. The religion itself is a fine religion. The people that run it, unfortunately, are generally corrupt. There are some good priests. And that's true of a lot of organized religions. I believe in God. I go direct. I'm an evangelical Jewish Christian. I don't need a priest. I don't need a rabbi. Jesus has come to me on 2 occasions and spoken to me under difficult times. That is who I adhere to. That's who I answer to. I don't answer to anybody else. And it's time for you, the American people, to feel the same way. When we live in a country that is pushing homosexuality, lesbianism, transgenderism, transsexuality onto children behind the backs of parents, when we are killing hundreds of millions of babies in abortion mills, when we are allowing rampant crime to run through our streets, when we have open borders which allow drug traffickers, human traffickers, and sex traffickers and terrorists into our country without restriction, when we have a Justice Department that is a little more than a Gestapo, in fact, a little better than the German Stasi or the KGB in the Soviet Union, or what, in fact, I'm referring to the Gestapo in Nazi Germany. That's where we are. And you're living in a dream world if you think the American people don't need to rise up. You are living in a dream world if you think you can sit on the couch and watch Fox News and be entertained, or go to book clubs and discuss what's written in conservative books and do nothing. As I've said many times, if that's your attitude and you don't care about your kids, grandkids, or future generations, you're no better than the criminals who have destroyed this country. You're no better than Joe Biden. You're no better than Kamala Harris. You're no better than Mitch McConnell, another crook, a Republican crook in the US Senate who's taken money from the Chinese and others. We, the American people, must rise up. It is time to rise up. And one way we can do it, as I write about in my book, It Takes a Counter-Revolution, Wake Up America, is to enforce the rule of law ourselves, just like we did in the Old West, like Wyatt Earp had to do before we had a Justice Department. And in 1992, Justice Scalia ruled in a case, United States versus Williams, that I've discussed many times, that the grand jury belongs to the American people. He wrote for the majority of the Supreme Court, which at that time had some integrity. Today, it's almost totally corrupt. In fact, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, who's been asked to testify in front of Congress as to what ethics rules, if any, Supreme Court justices follow, has refused to show up. You know why? Because they don't follow ethics rules. They make the rules themselves. And these federal judges and Supreme Court justices give themselves immunity. That's another thing why we need a new government and not a new nation, and to fine-tune our Constitution. They need to be held accountable. They should not have immunity. They gave it to themselves, taking it from ancient England, where King George III gave it to his judges so those judges could rubber stamp his unjust edicts, just like these judges, Democrat and Republican, are rubber stamping the unjust edicts of those who put them on the bench with political campaign contributions, otherwise known as bribes. This country is corrupt to the core. This country is one of the most corrupt countries in terms of our government in the entire world. And that's why we need a new government. The American people are not corrupt, but the people who are in charge generally are corrupt. I can't think of one person on Capitol Hill who isn't compromised or corrupt. And I've had a lot of experience up there. So I want you to go to freedomwatchusa.org, support our cause, watch our grand juries. They'll be resuming next week. We will get convictions, I'm convinced. We are moving forward, and we will enforce those convictions peacefully and legally. We have the right to do so. And just like our founding fathers in 1776, we cannot be afraid. We must risk all to save this nation for our children, grandchildren, and future generations. And if you think you can do nothing to just count your shekels, go partying on with your friends, drinking to high heaven, or taking marijuana or whatever you do if you're retired, or for that matter, middle-aged or young, then you are as bad as the people who have destroyed this country. That's my message for today. There are good people. Now's the time, not for summer soldiers or sunshine patriots, as Thomas Paine said in the days leading up to our first revolution. But now is the time to wage a second American peaceful and legal revolution. See how to do it. Go to freedomwatchusa.org, get my book. I lay it out. Takes a Counter-Revolution, Wake Up America. You can also buy it at all booksellers online. And let's get to work. We have to save this country before it goes down the drain for the final count. And Joe Biden is, in fact, the vehicle to do that. God bless you. God save America. I'll be back tomorrow with another special podcast. Until then, remember, the Father and Son will only help us if we help ourselves. Thank you for listening to me.